Okay, friends, we got some big news happening out there just now. All this is breaking right now, and it is super, super serious. We've been watching for potential World War III breaking out across Europe. Poland has just invoked Article 4 of the NATO treaty. This is something that's only happened a few times since 1949, and we also have major exercises starting in Belarus with Russian forces against the Polish and Lithuanian borders. We got a whole bunch of NATO troops that have just been deployed, and right now there are NATO troops moving towards the border as we speak. We're going to talk about why Poland has just invoked Article 4 overnight, and what's going to happen next and why. And this is a very troubling development, friends. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are the things the mainstream media just isn't covering. And when they cover these things, they certainly don't give both sides a fair shake. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on what I think is actually happening here and what could happen next. All right, a home in Poland was impacted by a Russian drone. The home was mostly destroyed, it looks like, or at least the upper floors were destroyed. Now, we are being told that nobody was actually harmed. No one was actually hit by these Russian drones, but Russian drones apparently did infiltrate or cross over Polish airspace. Now, Poland is a NATO member, and NATO requires that all NATO members defend any NATO member that comes under attack. Now, Article 5 is that stipulation where basically if any member is under attack, all the other members must come defend it. Article 4 is slightly less serious, where basically let me just read it to you. NATO's Article 4 is a provision of the North Atlantic Treaty that allows any member state to request consultations with its allies if it believes its territorial integrity, political independence, or security is threatened. So, what's happening here? Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said on Wednesday that NATO member, Poland, has invoked the Western Alliance's Article 4 for urgent talks after Russian drones violated its airspace. Donald Tusk told Parliament over in Poland that Poland had identified 19 violations of its airspace overnight and shot down at least 3 Russian drones. This is a serious, serious problem. Now, no one in Poland was harmed by these drones, but it's a serious violation of its airspace. And the fact that we have a whole bunch of American, Polish, German, and other NATO member troops sitting in Poland watching these drones flying overhead is a serious problem. Now, these talks that are underway, generally speaking, in times past, as Article 4 has been invoked, I believe 8 times, 3 times already against Russia and its actions in Ukraine. So this will make it 4. So half of the times that the consultations have been invoked will be against Russia for this issue over in Ukraine. Now, when the consultations happen, basically all the member states have to have their representatives there. And in addition to that, all of the states are basically being forced to deal with the issue. Poland is not invoking Article 5 just yet. If some Polish people were to perish on Polish soil, they could invoke Article 5. The only time that Article 5 has been invoked before was by the United States after 9/11. And we demanded that basically all the NATO countries aid us in our attack on Afghanistan, which is why the Europeans were actually in Afghanistan in the first place, is because we invoked Article 5, the only country to ever do so. Now, Poland is not doing that quite yet, but what they are doing is demanding these consultations. Now, these consultations in previous rounds have resulted in either sanctions or combined actions or large-scale troop deployments or air defense systems being installed. And so we're seeing that this is going to probably lead to additional escalations against Russia. Now, let me give you my 2 cents on what I think probably transpired here. We've seen some drone incursions from Russia into Poland before. Now, if you look at the map, you see Belarus right there, which is not Russia. Belarus, by and large, is not participating in this war against Ukraine. They seem to be trying to stay quasi-neutral. Now, Russian troops have launched a major exercise that is beginning today. And that's a big deal. This is Zapad 25. Zapad 25 is including about 8,000 Russian soldiers as well as Belarusians military. Now, in lead up to this major exercise, this isn't a surprise that this is happening. This has been, preparations have been underway for over a month. In response to this, 34,000 Polish and NATO troops have deployed near the border with Kaliningrad. Now, Kaliningrad is not Belarus. So now, the Belarusian border at some points with Poland is close to Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad is a little island. It's a land island. It's got Lithuania on one side, it's got Poland on the other side, and then it's got the ocean on the other side, the Baltic Sea. So Russia can go into Kaliningrad, which is Russian territory. It's like Puerto Rico is the United States, right? I know some people in Puerto Rico think they're independent. No, they're part of the United States. Kaliningrad is a very sensitive point for Russia. It's their territory, and they're not going to give it up. They got military bases there. It's heavily fortified, but they now have 34,000 NATO troops additionally that are now right up against the border, and they've always been sensitive that NATO wants to take over Kaliningrad. And there are some NATO members who basically said that this should be the punishment for Russia invading Ukraine. Russia went into Ukraine and seized territory. Well, the NATO should go into Kaliningrad and seize that territory. Russia has in the past said that if anyone invades Kaliningrad, that they will use nuclear weapons to defend it. So this is serious. There is word out there, I don't know that there's confirmation, that there are nuclear weapons deployed in Kaliningrad. Now, that's one of those things where they wouldn't want to announce that because it would be highly provocative to NATO and to the Europeans. But we got this major exercise happening, and we got all these troops there. And in this scenario, Russia decided to launch, here's my gut, probably they launched these drones from Kaliningrad, didn't want to fly them over Belarus, so what they did was they flew them over Poland in order to then hit targets in western Ukraine. They could have flown them over Lithuania and then over Belarus to go hit western Ukraine, but I think what they did was they probably flew them over Poland. They don't want to bring Belarus into this war. Belarus is like, we support you, but not quite that much. And they decided to just provoke Poland a little bit, and to basically knowing that that they think that Poland's not going to really do anything about it. And Poland, seeing these drones flying overhead, heading to Ukraine, decided to shoot 3 out of the sky, and probably one of the ones that got shot down is probably what actually impacted the house. That's my guess on the thing. Russia is clearly saying, their response to this is, the Russian army said that they did not target Polish sites in the overnight drone attack. They were targeting Ukraine. They were not targeting Poland. Now, does that really make a difference whether they were intentionally shooting at Poland or if they just accidentally shot Poland? I don't think that Poland is really feeling the difference there. Somebody's house is destroyed. You know, does it matter that, you know, Russia was aiming at the house or wasn't aiming at the house? I don't know. But this morning, in response to this call, we already have, this morning, because over in Europe it's a little more advanced daytime-wise. So they did have a gathering. Now they have a regular meeting on Wednesdays for the weekly meeting. Now this they escalated that meeting to being a response to the Article 4. So any countries that did not have representatives there had to send representatives in, and the meeting has basically started on what they will do in response to this call by Poland for these 8 Russian drones. Now, Poland said 19 incursions. Zelensky in Ukraine is saying that 8 Russian drones were aimed towards Poland. That's what he said. This is what exactly will transpire from this. We know that the Europeans are very, very upset with what's going on in Eastern Europe. Now, they want the United States to do whatever we're going to do. They want to rope the United States into action in Ukraine because they know that the United States will fund most of the action. Even though Europe has about the same population as the United States, even though the European Union has about the same GDP as the United States when you put all the countries together, they still foot only 20 to 30% of the bill on basically anything that happens in NATO. The United States pays 70 to 80% of things, generally speaking, contributes 70 to 80% of the troops to any type of action, and basically the stuff going into Ukraine is mostly being paid by America. Now, the Europeans like to whine and moan about the United States not doing enough, but when you look at the numbers, Europe is not pulling its weight. And so now that they were like, let's have more action, let's get more involved in Ukraine, because the Ukrainian forces, their military fronts are collapsing. Every day, there are major gains in that Eastern European country. They're losing. Or shall I say, we are losing, because we are very much active parts of this conflict. And this is why peace talks have been basically off the table. The president of Bear Country doesn't want to meet on this, doesn't want to talk about things, and has been basically saying that country in Eastern Europe needs to surrender because they're making tangible gains every single day, and the situation militarily is declining every day for that country in Eastern Europe. The Europeans are very upset about this, and they realize that something has to change very, very fast. But they also realize that they don't have the military capacity or the military material to actually do anything about it. They need the United States to do this. So they're trying to rope us into this yet again. And we just reported the other day that France issued a letter that was then leaked to the media that said that French hospitals need to be preparing for 50,000 military and civilian casualties per month. Is somebody going to attack France? No, they're not. But if Europe gets involved in this conflict in Ukraine or direct action against Russia, there will be massive amounts of casualties that will need hospital beds in the UK, in France, in Germany. And so the Europeans are absolutely chomping at the bit to get into a shooting war with Russia. So what will happen here? Poland and its European allies, I fear that they are using this as an opportunity to try to rope or trigger some sort of military action or some sort of action that's going to provoke Russia more. Whether it's going to be, we already seen additional sanctions coming into play, right? Europe has been buying oil from India, who is buying it from Russia. The United States has said this can't continue. You can't keep basically financially supporting Russia. The United States has called on the European Union to put 100% sanctions against India and China. The United States is threatening 100% sanctions against India and China as well. These are additional sanctions or additional tariffs that would be punitive against China and India in a massive effort to try to get these two countries to stop actively supporting the Russian conflict in Eastern Europe. Now, China has been basically manufacturing goods for Russia that have been used. So like the drones that Russia is using against Eastern Europe. They oftentimes are, the motors on them have been manufactured in China as lawnmowers and other, they call them different things, but basically they're manufacturing these drone engines, knowing full well what they exist for and what they're going to be used for. And yet China is manufacturing them, drones, other like military uniforms, they're being manufactured in China. And China is exchanging them for oil and natural gas. China is very much a broker in this. They have a financial investment with Russia. I don't think that they're giving away stuff for free to Russia, but they are enabling Russia, and so is India. And so they're talking about these sanctions or tariffs. That could be one of the things that's on the table these next couple of days. But whatever happens is going to be majorly provocative, and I think that we're going to be seeing some major things come out over the next couple of days from these consultations with NATO. All right, friends, let me know what you guys think about this. How bad, how serious is this? Is this just kind of a nothing burger, or is this going to be a major escalation? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.